Chapter 12 Art and the Ego. Art. There is a stark difference between art and creativity that is not well understood. We tend to think that art and creativity are the same, but they are not, and it's important to understand why. Art is really a small subset of creativity, and because art represents such a small fraction of the creative potential that we all have, equating art and creativity can be very dangerous to the limitless potential of creativity. For example, if creativity were a building, art would be one piece of plywood. Sure, it's important to have that one piece of plywood in the building, but when we look at the big picture, the wood is in fact a very small component of the entire building. Even though art is such a small subset of creativity, within art we have tons of subcategories that enhance our lives and enrich our experiences as human beings. This art affects all of our senses: sight, smell, touch, taste, and sound. We have music, sculpture, fine art, and dance, among other things that allow for self-expression and gratification for the people who create them. When I say art is a subset of creativity, consider that as a startling point. I mean that art has touched countless lives. I would argue that this includes just about each and every soul on earth, yet it's only a tiny fraction of potential creativity. That is incredible. And once you see it, you can truly see how powerful and grand creativity can be. Why do we equate art with creativity? To answer that, we need to go back to childhood. It was easy to equate art to creativity as children because art is the very first exposure we have to creativity. Art is the first instance of creativity that is approachable and understandable to us, and there is nothing wrong with that. It is in fact a very good thing. In Chapter 3, we did an exercise in which we drew a flower because art can often be the catalyst for great creative thought. It is perfectly alright to start the journey into creativity from the base of art, but at some point, art alone cannot express the limitless creative potential we all have deep inside us, no matter who we are and no matter what we do. Something interesting happens as we age. We lose the ability to differentiate between creativity and art. We think creativity is only art, and as a result, we cheat ourselves out of the wide breadth of creativity as a whole. The consequences are dire. We figure that art is creativity, and so we stop fostering any development of creativity. But that is a travesty. It is quite literally the belief that one piece of wood in an entire home is a good enough representation of our creative potential. That's damaging and simply not true. The truth is that creativity is the basic building block of creating revenue and igniting a long dormant part of the mind to reawaken the full human potential. It is innovation, a much larger subcategory of creativity than art, by the way, solutions to real problems, profit enhancement, endless growth in one's career, and so much more. In other words, creativity provides solutions that fit a real need. Creativity in my method helps people push for solutions that can be of value and service to all. The type of creativity you will find in the creator mindset is laser focused on making you more money, improving your exposure, and building your brand while fusing your mind into one super unit that unleashes all human potential. The ego. No conversation about art is complete without looking into the ego. The ego is defined in the dictionary as a sense of self-worth, a sense of self-esteem, or one of self-importance. It drives artists to complete their work no matter what they are doing, from painting to music and beyond. The ego assures artists that what they are doing is a just and right expression that is worthy of completion. We can see how some dose of ego is a good thing. But sometimes, some ego becomes far too much ego, and not just for the artist. You and I and everyone we know can see that sometimes ego can get out of hand. I personally see this inflated sense of ego crippling the success of many businesses and careers today. Inflated ego can come from a person, a group, or a work culture. What we need is a recipe for how creativity views the inflated ego and what it can do to help control it. Because when ego gets out of hand and goes from useful to inflated, it ends up being damaging to creativity. What can we do about inflated egos? We need some tools from the creator mindset to help control it and help us catch this inflated sense of self before it can wreak havoc on our organizations and careers. This inflated sense of ego can have the tragic effect of shutting down creativity entirely. And so we must look deeper and learn 3 techniques to help us understand why inflated ego takes hold and what we can do about it. But first, we need to look at how we can control inflated ego.